Ready?
Ready.
All right. All right. It's time to go talk at Go Congress, which is happening behind us. Today I have Pruitt and Will Lockhart. They are both the directors of the surrounding game. How are you doing, guys?
Things are good, real good.
Cool. We have a lot of great things to talk about. A lot of stuff to catch up on since we've last talked.
Right.
So let's get to it. First thing, you guys made the announcement that surrounding game is finished.
That's right.
Right.
We're here. This is the biggest Go Congress ever.
Right.
Which is awesome. This is my 6th Congress, I think.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see it keep growing. And it was really cool to be able to announce that the movie is finished after 4 years.
Well, congratulations. So what are the plans right now for the movie? Like, just for the community, getting it back to people, or just, I don't remember you said you wanted to release this the right way and do festivals and such.
Right. So we've progressed a little bit, on the plans since the last time we talked several months ago.
Right.
There's multiple prongs to this. The first one is fulfilling all the Kickstarter and backer rewards that have helped make the project, come to fruition in the first place.
Cool.
So that means DVDs, downloads, posters. We owe a lot of stuff to a lot of people in the community, and we're really keen to get that out as soon as possible. However, other prongs include screening at film festivals. That's probably the biggest thing. And so we've submitted to a couple of festivals already. And there will be many more domestically and possibly internationally that we'll be submitting to, where the film will compete against other documentaries. So that'll be happening in the next several months, and we're submitting now. Right. And after that will be public release, and there's a lot of screenings we'd like to do around the country at small Go clubs, museums, cultural institutions. So that's kind of the life cycle for the film for the next year.
Cool. And I'm really curious about that thing about screening for people in the community and
Right.
Go clubs. So
Totally.
Let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, I'm sure I'll get the links from you, but if people are interested, what are you trying to do, and how can they get interested in screen it maybe for themselves?
Yeah, definitely. So you can always just send us an email at surrounding.game@gmail.com.
Uh-huh.
And we'd love to hear from you. As Cole said, the traditional life cycle for independent movies, who don't have a big studio behind them, is to go to film festivals first, because that's kind of how you break into the film community, the film industry.
Distributors who are there at the festivals.
You meet distributors who are looking for interesting projects just to back and to bring onto their platform.
Cool.
And so that's kind of the first step. That's going to be hopefully starting in the fall and then going into the spring.
Okay.
But after that, after we kind of begin that process, we would love to open it up to just kind of the Go community and the country at large, right? And host local screenings. So Go clubs, cherry blossom festivals. If you've got an independent theater in your town that shows movies every once in a while, and you have an in with them, we'd love to hear from you. And that would be not immediately, but it'd be going into next year.
So like mid next year.
Yeah, like probably April, May, June, something like that.
Right.
We'd want to start doing those screenings, and then hopefully we can get DVDs moving around then.
Okay, so just so in terms of timeline, probably around fall or something, we're going to see this show up in festivals.
Right.
And then mid next year, we can probably do screenings, and then we'll also probably be able to get it in our hands.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Awesome. Cool.
And we'll also have it available, so part of the third tier of that is releasing it through our website or a separate distributor, so that anyone in the world can download it, and we can fulfill all the Kickstarter rewards of download and sending DVDs out to people. So that's kind of the prong that comes after we do some of these first screenings at festivals, and in concert with screening at Go clubs, museums, cultural festivals, that sort of thing.
Awesome. Well, go ahead. Did you?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I know a lot of people have been waiting a very long time. Some people who came on at the very beginning, we were very naive in how long we thought this was going to take, and also because of all that help, it was able to become a bigger project than we expected. But anyway, I was just going to say a lot of people have been waiting a long time, and we need to humbly ask to wait just a little longer before they can actually get it in their hands. But it is finished, and it is now, we are in phase 2 now of getting this out.
I would say the way I like to think about it is, if we had kept the movie the scope and the size of what it had been, we would have been able to turn it around in a year, and it would have been this kind of small Go community project that would not have had a larger, birth in the film or other outside worlds. But
Right.
because of all the support we got and all these other things that went right for us, it's much bigger now and much more capable of reaching a big American audience.
Right.
So
it's going to be worth
And
the wait.
international, too.
right. So the goal is, the scope has changed because of those successes, and I think because we've
I
gotten
see.
more access. So yes, it's taking longer than then, but it's also going to be much more expansive and I think much higher quality production
Right.
than we would have expected. So that's kind of the trade-off that we decided was the best thing for the film.
I mean, I think even from the beginning, it seemed like just America, and then you
Right.
were going to Asia, Korea,
Right.
all these different places, and I'm guessing that just was increasing with the scope of everything, right?
Yeah,
Getting
definitely.
the access really opened it up to a larger world, and we thought we could make not just a movie about Go,
Right.
that happens to be about Congress or the birthday, but the movie that really is universal in what we go after and display for the film. So
Great. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I've always seen things where they talk about documentaries and how it always does take longer
Right.
than what you ever expect. And I think you said in our previous talk that, I mean, the movie you think you're going to make in the beginning might not be what you think.
Right.
And 4 years, a lot's happened in 4 years.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, there's AlphaGo, pros that have shown up,
Right.
and just all these events. What events do you think did you miss out on coverage? Do you think now it's like, oh man, that would be so cool, other than the obvious one? But we can talk about the obvious one.
Right. It's tough. I mean, this style of filmmaking that we used is you shoot a ton of footage, you shoot over 100 hours, and then from all around the world, and then you go and you start sorting through it, and you have to build a story out of that mass. So there's always going to be awesome stuff that gets left behind, right? There's always going to be you're never going to be able to get everything you want
Right.
into the film, and that's been that's part of what has taken so long is
Right.
like wrestling with that question of like, oh, like we
Just
love
one
this,
more.
we love this, yeah. We
Right.
can't,
Just one more.
if we pack in every single thing we want, it's not a movie. It's just a highlight
it's a
reel.
slideshow, right?
Right.
So that's been tough. I think I'm not sure about particular events so much, but I feel like the thing that is most tough not to have is just some of the great material we have from all of our interviews with the top professionals.
Oh,
we
right.
have a lot of top professionals in the movie, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But each of those interviews is 30 minutes or whatever. There's all this material
Yeah.
from Cho Hun Hyun, from Isidol, from these people, and we've picked the choicest quotes that we feel like fit the story and allow us to to tell the story of Go and to see the world of the pros. But there's so much more that they said about their own experience and all that is tough not to have all of that stuff. But you can't have all of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I was, with regard to the largest event, Alpha, the
Yeah.
victory of AlphaGo and the development of AI that can beat professionals. In some ways, it's something that would immediately you think, oh, that would be really great to have in the film because it's such a climactic event and so many people paid attention to that when it came out for good reason.
Right.
At the same time, especially this kind of story that we're creating in this film and this kind of approach to documentary filmmaking, it's not about just taking all the best things that you could have and sticking them all together because then the story is not as cohesive. It doesn't really make sense.
Right.
We filmed a very specific period of time, the birth of the American professional system, and all the context that goes into the movie is built around that.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
AlphaGo does make sense to include in a film about Go, but it's also a little bit orthogonal to what we're working on. So
Right.
yes, it would be great to have that footage, but some of it, even some of our best footage, doesn't make it into the final cut because it's about creating a whole that makes the most sense.
Oh, I
like
see.
if you're writing a novel, it's not like you write 10 different styles and then it just you just throw it all together and then that's it. You have to
Right.
make something cohesive. So
Right. You have to have a narrative
Right.
Yeah,
that
right,
drives the
exactly.
story.
right,
And it makes
so
people want to watch.
So I don't feel that bad about this thing came up and at the very end of our process just a few months ago, where this victory happened over Lisa Dole. So I don't know. I don't really regret not having that material in it. It's just another story that should also be told.
That's true. Yeah, and
That's
I
my feeling.
think there were rumors of there are probably other documentaries that are going to happen and people talking.
The word on the street is that Google does have the footage for a documentary about AlphaGo, but we don't know yet. We don't know.
Cool. So let's see. We've talked about those. I think we talked about that. What's next for you guys in terms of? Do you guys ever want to make another Go documentary, or you're just like 4 years of my life is enough for this? And like, how do you feel about what you guys are going to do from here on out?
Right. Well, I'm actually starting a graduate program
Okay.
this fall, so I'm moving, and I'm kind of going to be a big transition for me. But in terms of filmmaking, I feel like at the moment I would definitely love to make another film, but not anytime soon. That's kind of how I'm feeling about it.
That was a lot of effort for 4 years. Let's take a break.
Yeah. So I'm going to be going back to school to do physics, which is what I studied as an undergrad.
Cool.
And obviously work on phase 2 of this project, getting the film out.
Right.
But I think I need, could use a break from the filmmaking process. But I would love to down the road, whether it's about Go or about something else. It was just like such an amazing experience, and just learned so much, and it was really cool. So I'd definitely be interested in doing another film. I don't know about feature, maybe short. But,
and what about
someday.
you? Cole?
I don't think I would make another film about Go, because I think we've accomplished what we wanted. I mean, maybe if something else happens in the world of Go that we would want to make a film about, then okay, great, could do
Right.
that. But I think we felt like we needed to make this movie because the story was available and
Right.
things were happening, and that was what galvanized us to start in the first place. But there are definitely other topics I'd be interested in making a film about, but it's something that I think just kind of has to grab you and rip you away from what else you're doing, or
Right,
else
right.
it's not going to be, you're not going to have the wherewithal or the passion or the energy to actually go through and complete it. So this
Right.
was something that did that for us.
Oh,
so
okay,
we
yeah.
had to,
Yeah,
so
it-
we kind of had to do it, but
Right.
unless something else, just knocks you off balance and you have to go that way, it's
Right.
hard to know exactly. But I think that's possible in
Yeah.
some years or months, in
Right.
the future.
Who knows? One of my favorite pieces of sort of advice that was given to us, I forget who it was, but we were talking about how the project kind of was bigger and longer and cost more and all this than we
Right.
expected, and they were saying, we were saying like it was a little naive, and they were like, oh no, that's good. Like you need to be naive when you start,
Right.
Because if you knew what you were getting into, you'd never do it. If you knew
That's true.
Right.
what you were getting yourself into and how long it was going to take and how hard it was going to be. So it's good to be a little naive, not you have some sense of what you're doing, but be a little bit, be like, oh yeah, we'll just go ahead and make it. And then once you're in too deep to turn around, now it's like, well, guess we just have to keep going and then
Right.
do it. So now that I have a little bit more perspective of how big an undertaking at least a feature can be,
Right.
I think I need a break.
I will say though, yes, the film itself is finished. However, kind of the life cycle for the project is we're just like transitioning to a new phase now, because now it's about taking it to people inside and outside the Go community around the world and bringing this thing that we're really happy with in the end, and that a lot of people in the Go community have supported and contributed to,
Right.
out to
Right.
the world. So that itself is a full-time job to go through and do. So
Right.
I think I wouldn't want to start another film project at all until that was, on the
True,
had been
true.
wrapping up, because it is the
true.
second,
Yeah,
the
there's
adolescence
the
of
production
film,
phase and
right.
then like the promotion phase that we also
and
have to run
in a
through.
way, right? In a way, the second phase can take as long as we want, right? It could. I mean,
Right.
we could say, all right, we'll show it at a festival and put it online, and we're out. Or we could, travel around the world and do. I mean, we definitely want to do. Eventually, we want to do subtitles. We want to do a Chinese version, Korean version, Japanese version.
Right.
Okay.
Some people have volunteered. Backers have said, hey, if you ever want your film in Turkish, give me a call. And so eventually
Turkish,
it would be
wow.
cool to do some of those things.
Cool.
Um,
I guess so. Is it probably you're saying you have all these interviews and talks
Uh-huh.
with everyone? Is it too early to talk about like deleted scenes, extended interviews? Is that
Oh, good question. Yeah, never too early.
Not too early to talk. We're definitely thinking about it.
I think, that it might be a while before we have the energy to go back in and start doing that.
Right,
But
there's a cool down.
There's definitely some scenes that we had a lot of fun with that didn't make it, and some stuff. And definitely all of this stuff eventually will be we have all the footage. It's not being deleted.
right?
We have all it archived. We have the full interview with Cho Hun Hyun. That's like 45 minutes long.
Right.
Fully translated.
Sort of.
Relative, the parts you wanted were translated, and then there's still some.
Yeah, there was a rough. We kind of had, I don't know if this is the details are that interesting, but we had so much footage that we kind of did like a rough pass of translation. But the whole translation process was just kind of a nightmare because we had 3 different languages, in addition to English.
Right.
All this footage, and because we don't speak those languages, even if we get just a transcript's not enough. Right. Because you have the transcript, but it's like, well, which quote is which quote, right? Where does this quote start and where does this quote end? And so we have the transcripts and like a kind of rough time code of what syncs with what, but then if we say, okay, I want this sentence, then we need to bring our translator back in and tell us, is it this, where is it? You know what I mean?
The timing and...
so we don't have it translated to the extent that we could just plop the subtitles on and know where they go. But it's in process. But anyway, all that stuff is archived, and we'd love to, someday kind of go back and make not the full thing because that's boring, but make selects of some things that didn't make it, and maybe do a DVD extra kind of thing.
Nice.
I will say, just to add onto that,
go ahead.
I think because this project has been bolstered and supported by the Go community since the very beginning,
right,
we feel like a lot of this footage is also kind of owed to the community as just a resource of a record of a certain slice in time of what Go was.
Right.
And that's because we have a lot of interviews with pros, we have a lot of footage otherwise that just had not been recorded in any form before. So we do want to make that stuff available to the Go community. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we're going again to the Go community to host screenings and to get the film out there in the first place, is we do feel like it has potential to go outside the Go community and bring in more people to the game and just describe the story of the game a little bit more.
Definitely.
So all that extra stuff, we do want to get out there. When that's going to happen, it may be more educational than as part of the film project itself.
Cool. Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying with the whole critical mass thing about how Go is getting to a point where everyone's knowing it.
Right.
And then, some people have come back to my club because of AlphaGo or this, and just anything new that's out there that people can
It's just
consume.
One more thing on the top of the pile that people recognize.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're definitely hoping to be kind of part of that lineup of there's Hikaru and then there's AlphaGo, and maybe this could give another boost. Right.
Yeah. Last question, and then I'll ask you guys if there's anything you guys wanted to bring up. So I know we talked last time about just memorable things about interviews and just being stuck. Since then, since we last talked, be it either production or then the creation of it, and I never got to ask you this question. Is there anything memorable from your time making it or just producing it that you can really point to that either you didn't mention last time that you think would be cool, or you've never gotten the chance to say this?
Yeah, right. I haven't been on your show yet. So you're just talking about. Oh, this is when you told him about the Chinese general.
The hot springs, yeah.
In the hot springs.
That was Well, that's
that was something. Well, the whole production of this was such a trip and was so fun because we were so enthusiastic and we also. Everything was such like a mad rush.
Right.
We had no idea we were going to go to Japan, and then all of a sudden, a friend of a friend put us in touch, and we were running around. So I have to try to think about particular moments, but it was quite an adventure just meeting up with all these random translators and going to their clubs and not speaking the language and all that.
Yeah.
At one point, this is not really a fun story, but just like how the kind of chaos of the process. Our DP, our director of photography, cinematographer Colin, at one point during our trip in China, got really, really sick with food poisoning.
That happens in China.
That happens in China, and luckily I made it out of that trip pretty much unscathed. But he at one point got really sick and was basically bedridden for like 3 or 4 days. In Chengdu, in kind of central China. And luckily he picked basically the best 4 days of our month-long trip to get sick because it was kind of the only time when we didn't have like something really, really crucial that we were doing. We kind of, when we were planning the trip, we were like, yeah, everyone says Chengdu is like the chillest city in China. Everyone just hangs out and drinks tea and plays Go. Like
Right.
let's spend a few days there, and that's when it.
That's when it hit.
But yeah, we were. I remember one day we were running down the streets, trying to find like something, just trying to find like crackers and plain ramen to bring back to him as he was in this like disgusting hotel room, like
I can imagine.
at 100 degrees, just like dying.
Oh, it was summer too.
It
no.
was fall. It was
Okay.
fall. It was probably.
But he
100
just had
degrees,
the
but it
worst
was hot.
fever,
Yeah. And just, I don't know. It was not pleasant, but it was like
Definitely
memorable. Yeah, definitely memorable. But luckily he made it out, and by the time we got to Beijing, he was better.
Oh, cool. And Cole, do you have any
I can think
stories?
of the brief one comes to mind. When we were in Korea, we had, again, through good, just plain dumb luck and a little bit of maneuvering, we had the chance to interview Lee Sedol, who will be,
Yeah.
will appear in the film. And during that interview, we were very cognizant of the fact that we want to make sure the air conditioner is off and there's no like beeping or anything. We want the audio to be really good because this is like one of the most important interviews we can do with anybody.
Right.
And at some point outside the room where we had sat down and we were doing the shoot, there were some other Korean pros who were like kind of talking and they're reviewing a game. They're just sitting around talking. It was starting to bleed through the wall a little bit, and we were like, we need to stop at some point. And like we were a little worried because it's like kind of contaminating the audio for this
Right.
interview a little bit.
But we can't just walk up to a bunch of professionals and be like, quiet
"Shh,
down.
cut it out." Like it's we're like they've invited us into the
Yeah.
KBA, so it's a little sensitive situation. We go out, and who is sitting there but Cho Han-hyun, who we had interviewed at the Kotsan Open
Right.
a year or several months before because he had visited that tournament. And we had gotten a chance to interview him here. So we went out and we saw him, and he did recognize us from that. Did he? Or did we recognize him?
Yeah, no, I think he recognized you.
He recognized what? Yeah, and so like, we looked at him and we were like, but I didn't speak Korean, he doesn't really speak English, so I was just trying to communicate, like, can you like get these guys to like, we're trying to shoot. Like he picked up on it and was
Right.
like, I got this, and like goes over and tells the other Korean guys like, yo guys, quiet down, and then turns and is like, gives us the wink and the thumbs up, and I was like, yes, we have Cho Han-hyun playing point for us outside this interview so we could get Lee Sedol. That moment was just, I'll never forget that. It was great.
Awesome.
So.
Cool. Well, is there anything you guys want to bring up or talk about before we wrap this interview up?
I don't know. I'll just say I don't know what your audience is, but I'll just say if you are a Go player and you've never been to the Go Congress, get your ass to the Go Congress. It's really
Will's right. Will's right.
It's really there's no substitute. It's so and when I was these days I don't compete that much anymore. I haven't been improving much, but back at the time of these these congresses, as well as just being a blast, I learned so much at the Congress. I like every year I would learn as much in that week as in the rest of the year, just because
Right.
you're just so immersed in the game, and there's just everywhere you turn there's some strong player giving advice to somebody
Right.
that you can pick up on.
Yeah.
So it's if you have the time and the money, got to make it out.
Cool.
They say that about the Euro Congress too.
That's true.
Euro Congress is 2 weeks, and we've never been. So
Yeah.
maybe there's
That's
a next
one of
step for
our
us
goals.
too.
Yeah, gotta
Cool.
get out
I
there.
don't have anything else to add.
Yeah.
I think Will summed it up.
Cool. Well, guys, thank you very much for doing this with me. Best of
Pleasure.
luck. If they have information or anything, surrounding.game@gmail.com.
Or you can go to our website, surroundinggamemovie.com.
Surroundinggamemovie.com. Good luck at the festivals. Everyone can't wait. So, thanks. Bye, guys.